Today, we're going to talk about depression. I'm going to share with you how I beat depression, how I broke free from the cage I was living in for 20 years. Now, I have to put a disclaimer here. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist. I am just a woman who suffered for over 2 decades, falling deep down into the depression hole that I called like an anthill. I would climb up the anthill, feel amazing, and then fall right back down into deep depression over and over and over again. And if you're new here, my name's Nina. I'm a trauma informed life coach. I've been a coach for the last 6 years. I've been in the personal growth world for about 10 plus years now. And I had a rough childhood. I experienced developmental trauma, early childhood trauma, tween and teen trauma. I just experiences you name it, I experienced it. And what that did was leave me with a life filled with imprints of trauma. And for 2 decades, believe it or not, I didn't even know I was dealing with unhealed trauma. Had no idea. I just felt like everybody else knew how to do life, and I just needed to get by and survive. So let me share with you how I got started in the coaching space. I became a mindset coach, and I coached for one of the top coaching companies in the world for almost 2 years. I coached 20 hours a week. I helped entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, moms, dads, doctors, corporate executives. I coached them all. I coached all the humans from all over the world. And what I started to realize was mindset coaching, meaning shifting your thoughts the way you thought, helped me feel a little bit better here and there. But then I always needed it to feel better. And I noticed these people that I was coaching were getting results and I wasn't. They were changing their life and I wasn't really changing my life. And that's when I realized that I had unhealed trauma that was creating clinical depression and anxiety in my life. And I realized that I needed to do something about it and that mindset coaching was not enough. So what happened was I had these two earth angels come into my life. First one, I wanted to punch in her face. She told me, Nina, you are creating your own suffering. Yeah, I really wanted to punch her in her face. And I didn't believe that for a long time. But then the second one came in and she named my experience of life. She told me something I never heard up until that point. And by that time, I had already been a coach and I had never heard of complex PTSD or CPTSD or complex trauma. All the same, they just said a different way. I had never heard of that term, but that put language to everything I'd ever experienced in my life. So I call those earth angels, and my hope is today is that I'm an earth angel for you. I'm a disruptor of some sort. I'm a guide of some sort for you. This is my hope for today. So first, I really want to tell you that I get it. I get how it feels to wake up and feel this dark, looming grayness come over you that feels like it's like pulling you down from within. And I was what I would call like a functional depressive person. I had a great job. What I did was I got a job just making enough, and I had a family, and I could do all of that, but doing all that took everything out of me. And then when I got home, I would like collapse, and on the couch, I would be drinking vodka, watching soap operas, like trying to be a good parent, but I was struggling in that area too because I had no example of what a good parent was. And I would numb out and I felt really disconnected. I remember I watched an Oprah episode once. I really liked Oprah, even like in personal growth stuff, even way back then when I didn't know anything about it. And somebody on the show mentioned feeling disconnected. And that's how I felt. I always felt disconnected. And it turns out all the while I had CPTSD and I didn't know. So the best way I would explain my depression is that I would climb up the anthill and fall back down. I would climb up the anthill and fall all the way back down. And I had this will in me to keep trying and to keep trying. And I always knew like there had to be something better. Why was I suffering so much? I had no idea why life was so seemingly hard for me and it was so easy for everyone else. I get how it felt to wake up and look around and be like, I have everything I could want on the outside and still be in depression. I didn't understand. I'm like, why am I so depressed? I have everything. I have the husband, I have the car, I have the house, I have the job, I have the daughter, I have all the things. And I was so depressed. I also know what it feels like to live in the consequences of battling with depression for so long. One of the biggest consequences that I lived in for 9.5 years was a no contact, estranged relationship with my daughter after I got divorced. It was the most painful, most dark time of my life, but it is the thing that helped me wake up. It is the thing that set me down the trajectory to figure out, like, how do I break free of this suffering? So I may not know how you feel. I don't know how it feels to be in your specific situation, but I can tell you that I get feeling the way you're feeling. And I hope that I am an example of what's possible for you today. I hope that what I share with you helps you in a way that moves you in the direction of freedom, breaking free from depression. I believe it's possible. And the reason why I believe it's possible is because I did it. I've been probably free from depression for about 3 years now. And even after I found mindset coaching and I was trying to change my thoughts, I still had moments where I wanted to unalive myself. And I knew that I had to figure this out. So I'm here with some tools for you today. I'm going to share with you what I did, and I hope that you find value in them. Okay. Now, one of the things that I learned along the way is that every teacher who really helped me access the wisdom within me. So my goal is to help you access and giving tools to help you access the wisdom within you. I know a little bit about you. If you're watching this video, I know that you have the will not only to survive, but really to thrive. And you're really trying to figure out, how do I thrive? And that will is going to help you. We need the will to take some of these actions. Okay, so let's get started. Number one is exercise. You don't have to call it exercise. A lot of us have relationships with the word exercise. You can call it movement. Take a look at where you are today. And I just want you to move 5% more than you moved yesterday. The thing that helped me the most at the beginning of my journey was choosing to exercise regularly. I remember when my mom passed away. My mom was an addict, by the way, but hence the early childhood trauma that I experienced. My mom passed away when I was about to turn 37, I believe, and she was in the hospital for some time. And I remember not missing a workout during that time because I was led by fear. Unfortunately, exercise works so much for me, and I think that's the thing that kept me away from taking, antidepressants. And I don't have anything terrible or good to say about antidepressants, but one thing I learned, and again, this is just my experience, was I worked for Army pharmacies for over a decade, and I saw people getting these medications and never getting off and never really actually healing. So that like deterred. I also had this belief from when I was in the military that if you got help, you were weak. So that kept me away from antidepressants. Looking back now, I'm probably guessing that at some point in my 20s and 30s, I could have benefited from that for sure. But I didn't take them. But exercise became my antidepressant. And I went all the way in. I don't know if you know or you know of this, but Beachbody had these like on-demand workout videos, and I did those program back to back for 6 years. And that's one of the things that kept me, able to like crawl out of the hole I would fall into over and over and over again. So exercise is huge. There's studies already on exercise that show that it helps with depression. Most people fail by wanting to like change their life when it comes to movement overnight. They're not moving at all and they want to like get out and move overnight, or on Monday, I'm going to start this rigorous exercise routine. I don't want you to do that. Even if you just move, even if you just dance in your living room, I want you to move just 2% more, 5% more than you did the day before. Okay. Movement is going to help you tremendously. It moves a lot of that stuck energy that's in our body, the stuck emotion, the emotions we're not feeling. For me, during my like deepest depression, the way that I coped is through emotional eating, overeating, binge eating, over drinking. I would have vodka at night, and that's the way I got through life. So if you can bring exercise in, that's going to help you do those things less. I remember starting the program where I had a full-time job, and so I had to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and work out. And that meant that like I didn't want to be hungover that in the morning. So I stopped drinking alcohol the night before. That's the thing that got me to stop drinking alcohol. So get your body moving. Also, if you're anything like me, the mind will take you on a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. It's chaotic. The mind, especially if you have unhealed trauma, it is a bit toxic and chaotic up there, and it'll take you for a ride on a roller coaster. The best way out of the mind is through the body. So yoga, walking, strength training, it could be paddle, what is it? Paddle pickleball. It could be anything that gets you out of the mind into your body. Okay. Number 2, make tiny shifts to your nutrition. Okay. There's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. When I started cleaning up my nutrition, I started having like more even blood sugar. I started having less mood swings, less spikes, and less lows. So I want you to start taking out processed foods slowly, especially if you have a lot of processed foods in your life, and start removing some sugar and start cleaning it up. I want you to think of whole foods from the earth, from animals, like whole foods as much as possible. You're cleaning up your system and you're going to have more energy. You're going to start feeling better. Now, I'm not going to tell you this is easy. It didn't happen for me overnight. I remember the beginning of my journey when I was trying to get myself out of this cycle of depression. I would like meal prep for the week for my jobs and stuff like that. And then by Thursday, I didn't want to eat that healthy food anymore. And so I would go eat fast food. So I had one day a week where I would have fast food. And eventually that brought me to now where I don't have fast food every week. But start where you are. If you're eating processed food 7 days a week, try to cut it down to 5. Don't change overnight. You don't want to like shock your system, but you do want to start bringing in healthy foods, vibrant fruit foods, alive foods, because you want to feel more alive, right? All right, number 3, since we're on the inputs and consuming things, I want you to start changing your inputs. I'm talking about TV you watch, games you play, songs you listen to. I want you to start finding inspirational and motivational things. At the beginning of my journey, especially after, my divorce, I was living alone. I was really struggling then. I would be in my kitchen drinking my vodka after work, and I would be contemplating how I was going to take my own life, and I needed a way out of that. And a friend of mine shared with me YouTube motivation, and I started listening to YouTube motivation in the mornings when I would get ready, and it started impressing upon my unconscious mind. I started feeling a little bit inspired. Now, it was short-lived, okay? So this is going to be short-lived at the beginning. And and that's okay. We want you to feel 2% better. You want to just shoot for feeling 2% better. Now, back then I liked YouTube motivation because I still had the military mindset, disciplined mindset. I like David Goggins and impact theory and some other things. And then that led me to finding the life coach school. And that's the podcast that really changed my inner world. I started changing my thought instead of just listening to it. I want to tell you there's a slippery slope when it comes to consuming things like podcasts, audiobooks, things like that. For me, they literally turned into another way to cope, another way to avoid my emotions, another way to numb, another way to buffer life. So be warned that it is a slippery slope. So give yourself timelines, but change what you're listening to, change what you're watching. It can really make a difference. It made a huge difference for me. Number 4, start doing your deep inner work. Now, this just means it's a fancy way to say start making sense of your childhood wounds that have turned into your survival pattern, and they're still running the show today. Now, there's a couple ways to help you get there, but I want to read to you this journal entry that I wrote recently. So I was in a cave, a cage of some sort, of my own making. In this cage, I was safe. In this cage, I was small. This cage was small. This cage had all my protected parts. Don't connect with others, you'll be safe. Isolate, you'll be safe. Work really hard, you'll be safe. Just be thankful you have a job, you'll be safe. Binge watch TV, soap operas, and drink vodka after work, you'll be safe. Parent how you were parented, you'll be safe. Stay with a man who's toxic and in relationships that aren't good for you, and you'll be safe because no one else will love you and you're not good enough. So accept what you have right now. You'll be safe. To your own system, the cage you're in is safe. So right now, I want to let you know that wherever you are right now, your nervous system, your mind, your body is doing its best to keep you safe. Now, your unconscious mind and body is running the show. And when you start shining a flashlight, like shine a flashlight on the parts of you that are running the show and creating suffering for you, it, it's a long road ahead. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, but it was so worth it for me. So here's a couple questions to get you started. Ask yourself, who did I have to be or what did I have to do to gain love, attention, safety, acceptance from my caregivers, mom, dad, or other caregiver when I was growing up? Who does you have to be? Some of those answers could be the good girl, the out of the way person, have no needs, the rebel. When I was a rebel, I got attention. It could be many things. You might have had to be the successful one, the responsible one. So many versions of you that you've had to be safe. Then I want you to ask, where is that version of me still showing up in my life today? That can be a really challenging question. And then I want you to ask, is it still serving me? Because at some time it served you. It served you to be the good girl because you were safe. It served you to be the responsible one because you were safe. It served you to be the caregiver because then mom and dad or caregiver was also happy and you were safe. Whatever that survival strategy is, what we call it, is, we don't want to shame that part of you. We just want to see where it's operating in your life today and ask ourselves, is it still serving me? It's a really great place to start. Okay. All right. So right now, I know that you're probably thinking, okay, come on, woman. Come on, Nina. This is all good. I've heard all this before. I've tried all this stuff. But the problem is I can't be consistent at any of this. And I can't get myself to take a look at these hard things. And I can't get myself to do exercise. And I can't get myself to change my nutrition. And I can't get myself to stop consuming things that are toxic for me or being in relationship that's toxic for me, whatever it is, whatever the patterns are. I get it. I get it. This is where number 5 comes in. Okay. Number 5, microdosing psilocybin. This is when the dark clouds started parting for me. This is when the dark clouds started shifting for me. I started a protocol of microdosing only on the weekends. And all the other things helped me climb to that top of the anthill. Like, I'm climbing out of deep depression. But what microdosing did for me was help me like squash that process of climbing and falling and climbing and falling. It just squashed it. The whole anthill was just squashed over time. And I was already practicing changing my beliefs and personal growth stuff by that time. But microdosing helps increase neuroplasticity. It also helped me be present with my body and actually feel some of my emotions for the first time. I started to feel better. My mood shifted. There's a lot of studies on microdosing psilocybin, so I won't quote them. One thing, though, is I know that back then I had a terrible time figuring out, like, how do I take this stuff? And where do I even get it from? So I created a resource for you, a microdosing guide that has both of those answered in that guide for you. I will drop that in the description below. So go ahead and make sure that you download that. All right, that's all for today. If you found this helpful, please give me a subscribe and like this channel and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. It's also going to help me get this channel out to more people. I am a pretty new channel, so please do that. I would totally appreciate that. And then also, if something I said made you think like, oh, what maybe I have annealed trauma and I haven't really faced those wounds, I want you to watch this video. This video would talk about how to heal trauma at the root versus just talking about it in therapy. I hope that helps. See you in the next video.